everyone. So this week, what we're going to learn about are, we're actually going to be learning about confidence intervals, and we're also going to be learning about p-values. So let's just start by looking at what a confidence interval is. You may be familiar with this chart. We kind of looked at it before. And what this chart it's a histogram, and what it basically does is it says that if all your data, if all your findings are clustered in this area over here, then you have what we say 68% of your data. If it falls in here, then you're 68% confidence that if you repeat that study or repeat that test, that most of your findings will stay or cluster in this area here. So you're 68% confident that you'll get the same results. If you are looking at this area over here and you do a study and you find that most of the data that you collected were in this range over here, and if you repeat that same study, you could say that you are 95%, because it's 95%, you are 95% confident that the next time around when you do the study, the results will stay in this range over here. And then if you're super confident about your results, you could say you're 99.7% confident that if you were to repeat the study, you would get the same results. So most researchers, what they do is they use the 95% confidence interval, where they say, actually, I'll give you a hypothetical example. Let's say I'm a researcher and I have this new toothbrush that I give out to all of you guys, and you guys use that new toothbrush. And then when you guys come back, let's say 1 month later, and I look at all your plaque-free score, and let's say that the average plaque-free score that I got from all of you guys was 70%. So usually the average goes in the middle, so 70%. And so I got some, in the low range where people had very poor plaque, and I had some here where people had, a lot. I should say that again. I had some over here where people had low, like a lot of plaque, so maybe it was like 40 or 30, and here I could say maybe 90, so plaque-free score was 90%, which is pretty good, right? So you have some in the low range and you have some in the high range, but 70% was the average. So what does this mean? If I am 95% confident, so if I have a 95% confidence interval, that means that if I do the study again, so if I give that same toothbrush to another group of students and I get them to use that toothbrush, I tell them to come back in a month and I reassess their plaque-free score, I am 95% confident that their plaque-free score would still be in this range over here, would still be within, from here to here. Maybe I still have the same average of 70%, but I am 95% confident that the same results will reappear. So what people usually do is that when they want to, write up a study, some researchers will say something like this: the margin of sampling error is plus or minus 3, or the confidence interval. So let's say 70 plus, which is this, plus or minus 3. So what does that mean? That means that if I were to redo the entire study, maybe the next time around, this number 70, which is, the average, it could be, plus or minus 3. It could be 67. It could go to 67. Or this number could go up to 73. It could even go, it could be 68. It could be 69. But the lowest is 67. And how did I get this? Well, I took this number, 70, which is the mean, which is the average, and I minused it by 3, because that's the lowest it could go to. I could plus it by 3, and it'll be 73. So maybe the next time around, it could be 70, it could be 71, it could be 72, or it could be 73, but it will not be more than 73. So as a researcher, I am 95% confident, plus or minus 3, that the mean will stay at 70. It could go down to 67, it could go up to 73, but I'm 95% confident that it would stay within this range. That's what confidence intervals means. And here, this is an example of a table that you might see in a research paper or a journal article. And what this is saying here is they're looking at whether extra exercise for older people is good. And so here we have male, and they looked at 1,000, or actually, if I should be more specific, 1,226 males. And they found that the average they got was 0.92. So this is known as hazard ratio. Okay, hazard ratio. And the lower the hazard ratio, the better, right? So if it's less than 1, so 0.92, that's actually pretty good. If it was a 1 or higher, then that means they're more at risk for getting hurt. So hazard ratio means the lower the number, the better. So what's interesting here is that the researchers said that they are 95% confident, okay, so they're 95% confident that their number, sorry about that, their number will stay in this range, 0.92. So 0.92 was the average. So the ratio for this was 0.92. And what they said is they said that 95% confidence interval, which means that their average was 0.92 plus or minus 0.05. So sometimes if you repeat the study, you might get 0.88 or you could get 0.97, but 95% of the time you will stay within this area. And that's what they're saying. Okay, so confidence interval is how confident are you that if you were to repeat the study, you would get the same results. And in this case, the researcher is 95% confident that they would get the same results, but plus or minus 5. So if not 0.92, maybe 0.88 or 0.97. But they're 95% confident that it will stay within that range.